When you embrace a cause with your heart and give your best and beyond with passion, the outcome is amazingly beautiful. Such an entity in the kingdom is Think Pink Bahrain, which needs no definition, no introduction. And with me on this episode of The Next Guest from the 973 show is the champion herself, Jules Sprakel.
Good morning.
Julie, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us on the 973 show.
Thank you for having me.
And it's a beautiful time to have you with us. It's all pink.
It is very
painting
pink.
Yes. And it's beautiful to see that 1 month is totally painted pink for a great cause. And Bahrain cannot move on without thinking of you in this month, as in every year. Congratulations on this wonderful 20 years of Think Pink.
Thank you.
Let's take a journey through Think Pink.
Sure.
My first question to you would be, Think Pink has become such a common phrase, like every other person talks of Think Pink. But I know Think Pink has its address in Bahrain. It is founded by you. It's a standalone NGO with a purpose, with a mission, isn't it?
Yes.
Tell us about that, please.
So, yes, the term was coined in Bahrain by myself, Think Pink, back in 2004 for the first ever one-off event.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, a few years later, 2 years later, I formed a board to become a standalone, and that's Think Pink Bahrain Breast Cancer Society, registered with the Ministry of Social Development. And like you said, the only and first standalone breast cancer specific charity. So we have a board, and I'm as good as the team. We all use our business or our prowess to drive the charity forward. 20 years and $3 million raised so far. We are on the lips of everyone during the month of October, which can be a good thing and a bad thing.
Indeed. That's exactly what my question was hinting at. Tell us about, I wouldn't call it bad things, tell us about the challenges when the phrase or the word or the title of the society is being used.
Yes.
With many, programs, projects. Think Pink has become very common. How do you find any challenges with it?
I think this year, especially because it's the 20th year and we are back out in the media as our own entity, we haven't done a very big campaign since 2017 when we last made the installment for the digital 1.5 Tesla, which was $500,000 dinar and is operational in Salmanir Medical Complex. It's not that we went underground, but I wrote the National Breast Cancer Guidelines. So it was a lot. We didn't need to champion and raise amounts of money, but now we have a direction. There is an awful lot of pink washing that goes on in the country, actually internationally. Businesses affiliating with the term Think Pink, and then raising money. What I would say to patrons and stakeholders is that if you don't see it on our page, if you don't see it on our stories or our platform or our website, it's not an official Think Pink event. I think people need to be very mindful. I know when I travel, I will always go for the lunch or the salad that has a donation to a charity. I feel like then I'm doing my part. And I think then people there would choose a company for whatever they need because it was going to Think Pink or they thought it was going to Think Pink. It's very good with the numbers to say 40%, but 40% of 500 fills, that's why our books are always audited regardless if we make a great amount of money or a small amount of money. And I think we've got to 20 years with the funds that we've raised through our transparency and our consistency.
Indeed. And $3 million in 20 years, it's amazing. Julie, tell me about the thought. What made you do this in 2004? Why Think Pink and how Think Pink?
I arrived in Bahrain in 2002. I was speaking to your colleague. We know the date. Like many expats, I was here for a short amount of time. I clearly can't count if I've been here for 22 years.
Okay.
And I had a scare when I was 23. When I came out to Bahrain, I, no longer had I didn't have any issues and I wanted to give something back. And so in June, before June, I approached a gentleman called Akram McNass, who's now become a very close friend, and asked if I could use one of his restaurants to have a one-off event. And that raised 5,000 dinar. My sponsor, because I still work full-time, the charity is something we all do out of just volunteerism. My sponsor at the time matched it, and I donated 10,500 dinar to Bahrain Cancer Society for their national mammogram screening drive. For the 2 years then I worked under their, or 3 years in total, I worked under their umbrella until I really wanted to do a standalone, and then had the board and went through the process of getting registered, which took quite some time, but we did it. And 20 years.
Definitely 22 years. And as you rightly said, you and me will have stories to tell about the time that you've spent in this beautiful kingdom. And that's an amazingly beautiful thought of giving back to this place, to this beautiful country. And when you're talking of giving back, you gave it the right way, I would say. You're free from a scare and you felt that it should be. You must have studied the kingdom and its the details about how the country is equipped in terms of fighting breast cancer.
Yes.
What is your take? Where are we? Where do you think Bahrain is?
I mean, we're at the forefront for a lot of things. Nothing that the charity as Think Pink do is just pulling it out of the air. My background as a researcher and in healthcare, my original undergraduate was intensive care nursing, which has grown to get my PhD, my fellowship, my master's, and it's all been around breast cancer. So it's looking at the gaps. So for example, many countries around the world have breast-specific nurses. Take, for instance, Australia. Take, for instance, the UK. They have the McGrath Foundation nurses, or they have the UK nurses, which are breast-specific nurses. So I teamed up then with RCSI Bahrain, who run a master's program. And so we sponsor, so I only sponsor as a charity Bahraini nationals. As expats, I know there's a very big chance people will come and go. The money raised in Bahrain, according to the Ministry of Social Development, for all NGOs must remain in Bahrain.
Yes.
And I think that's quite pivotal. It doesn't go out. So it's reinvested. So only Bahrainis healthcare providers are supported by the charity, whether it be from nutrition, physiotherapists, nurses, doctors, those sorts of things. So we look at gaps. So a very big part of what happened, we realized that there was a gap and there wasn't an up-to-date MRI here, and it was very ambitious, 500,000 dinar. But I believe that, we have a very generous population, a very generous expat population. And like yourself, I've been here a long time. This is my home. My children are Bahraini. My husband is Bahraini. This is my home. And I could have made a charity anywhere else, but I chose Bahrain. This is my home.
Yes, and what more can you think of? Like, giving back is the best.
Yes.
And Bahrain is home. You can't even call it a second home.
No,
it's home. It's home. Yeah. And I'm so happy to see the passion with which you do all this towards this cause and the national guidelines for breast cancer.
Yes.
I think that is the only guideline that we have in the kingdom so far, which you have prepared.
It's the most current and up-to-date guideline.
2017?
2017-18 was published.
Yes.
It's the most widely downloaded Wiley research paper currently. I got in their top 10%. And if you know anything about research, Wiley is the pinnacle trademark of research publications. So that's fantastic. But again, it's a decision for the board. So the MRI was quite ambitious. Then we took a step back and had a look, where are the gaps? So I did a research analysis from research papers from 1975 to 2015 and had a look at all the papers, because it has to be relevant for our cohort here. Because, white is right and West is best doesn't pertain to what's happening here in our kingdom or in the GCC. We have genetic
You have to tailor it. You're
yes,
right. Yeah.
So that was very important. So out of that research findings and all the papers and things, it came out to 3 specific things. And when I took it back to my board and said, these are the 3 gaps, I think they were trying to get me back for the MRI. They said the guidelines will have the biggest impact. And so I was working with a colleague and one of my mentors, Professor Zvisht, who'd worked for the government through different entities. And I got a scholarship through the University of Sao Paulo and did that as part of my PhD.
Very good.
So His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, the chairman of the Supreme Council of Health, we went and saw him and he endorsed it, supported us through NHRA, through then Mariam Jalahma, the CEO at that time, and let us have access to the 3 big teaching hospitals, King Hamad, BDF and Salmanier. And we worked as a multidisciplinary team because what the surgeon thinks is important mightn't be what the patient, and the patient must have their voice. And that's where we are as an advocate, is that be able to reduce the knowledge or the research papers or the conversations at a professional level to make it understandable for the patient. What I should ask for, the questions I should ask for. Should I turn around and advise I would like reconstruction, because it's very important for the surgeon to understand if that's what the patient wants. There should be the opportunity, if the patient wants a skull cap before they go to chemo to support their hair follicles, Think Pink want to be that option for the community. We want to be able to purchase those things. And obviously we know that the MRI could not stand there left for the 250, 300 patients that are diagnosed with breast cancer. So Think Pink bought the other applications in it, so it also does chest and head and stomach.
Amazing. 20 years. You're celebrating 20 years. But I'm sure the journey was not as easy as you see, because you said you began as a one-off event, and maybe the passion, maybe the vision, all of that took Think Pink to where it is today. What were some of the challenges that you would want to highlight in these 20 years?
I think we haven't done a campaign ourselves since 2017. Our campaign being, we have stand-up events that have been iconic from the get-go. So a lot has changed. People have left, businesses have left, new people have come in. There's a lot of reinventing the wheel, so to speak. And, you know, doing an internal event is fantastic to tick off a CSR, but is it really CSR? Like I was telling you this morning, only 15 dinar of the gala ticket goes towards the charity. That doesn't cover for a consultation with a professional, genetic testing. They all cost a lot of money. The free mobile application that I developed with a colleague, Anne-Marie O'Shea, she did her master's on it, is free, but that costs money to translate. And we were very lucky with the students, undergraduates at Bahrain Polytechnic who did the voiceovers, but that costs money to be able to get that information and that platform up there. And that's why we are developing the application itself to have the decision aids, part of my PhD, part of the guidelines. So you have a cheat sheet. So everything that you need to ask is on there.
Right, yeah. Julie, coming to October, you know, the awareness drive, perhaps it was there, but maybe thanks to social media, it's very much out there.
Yes.
People know. But how do you look at these several initiatives that run only during October? What's your take on limiting all this to this month? And how relevant do you think it should be going? In my opinion, it should be ongoing. It's my take.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Look, there are fantastic charities in Bahrain. And so breast cancer internationally is in October. It was started back in the 80s for a pink ribbon on Estee Lauder counter in New York and has grown through consumer advocacy and things like that. Our logo is very different. It's the international ribbon, but it's the eye in the middle for eye check. A trademark to Think Pink here to represent unisex, because we know men get breast cancer too. Lots of things have changed. I'm trying to articulate it in a way that makes sense, but the passion's still there. Our vision and mission has never changed. We will be, breast cancer doesn't come along and say, oh, it's the 1st of October now. And doesn't go away on the 31st. The ribbons may be packed away after the 31st, and then there's diabetes on the 14th, and there's prostate cancer, November. But we will be campaigning for the next 2 years with a company called Bahrain Bricks and Race to a Million. And you will see us pop up, because we've had the hashtag for some time now, not just for October. And so our fantastic motorcycle ride, which is iconic with the charity, with partners, all my motorcycle groups across the kingdom, will be hosted on the second week in November on the Friday. 24N, a football company, will be doing their event in support of Think Pink on the 1st of November. And you will see us now campaigning and doing pop-ups. I much prefer to do a lecture about my application or our application and breast cancer out of October, because I feel it has more impact. Instead of ticking off that you've done
as you rightly said, and it's good to see that it's moving into November. We do have different causes in different months, but then I think every cause should be taken in the right spirit, and it should move on for the days and months to come. I'm very happy to see that there is a lot of awareness indeed, and the stigma might have been reduced. But unfortunately, there's more to be done. Absolutely. I'm sure you agree with me.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us. But before we conclude, what is it that you have to tell Bahrain about breast cancer awareness? And also, what's your vision for Think Pink in the next 5 to 10 years?
Shooting for the stars, absolutely. Having partners and supporting the system through the higher echelons, like His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdullah Al Khalifa and NHRA, now through Professor Ahmed Al Ansari.
Dr. Ahmed,
I would, not taking away from any of the Tumor Board and King Hamad and all the great work that they do and how we support individual hospitals. I want to be able to have somewhere, ideally as a wish list, a Think Pink Centre would be something that we're trying to drive towards, or 5 to 10 years time. But for the community is that October will go, November is next. Jumping on automatically mammograms and screening and things like that is not best practice. I check is saying, I will pledge, I check, I will do my self-examination. You must do your self-examination, male or female, once a month. And that's why we developed the application, not just for October. Not so much in the pink washing and the pink hype, is about know what's normal for you. Know your foundation to be able to move forward and act on it, knowing that 95% of the lumps found are not breast cancer. Right.
Thank you, Julie, once again for joining us. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
And looking forward to be on the island to witness the Think Pink Centre.
Thank you very much.
All the very best.
Take care.
Thank you. As Julie rightly said it's not just October. It should be beyond October. And for that matter, for every cause, it should be beyond the month that we mark for it. It's a collective effort, and it's definitely going to make a difference. So that was Jules Sprakel, the founder of Think Pink, on The Next Guest. So wait for the next exciting guest. This is Rajiv Unikrishnan signing off.